Hi everyone, happy Tappin Tuesday. This week we have an exercise for my level 3 people. Greetings everybody. So if you've been watching the Tapping Tuesdays for this month, you have seen that I've been breaking down essential steps that people should learn at each level and focus on really mastering. For level 3, it gets a little tricky because the essential steps for level 3 are basically all of the steps that get introduced from never too late through the end of level 2. So I've been trying to think of what things can I do for essential steps for level 3. And I've got a few ideas. So I don't know how many essential step videos there's going to be for level 3. Right now it looks like probably 2 total, whereas the other levels are going to have a lot more. But we're going to start off with some crawl variations. So the crawl is first introduced in level 1. And then in level 2, we start to introduce a couple of variations where we add an alternating heel drop. When you get to level 3, we do variations where we add alternating toe drops as well. So I have actually sort of 6 different crawl variations that we're going to have today. And these are great exercises to work on and really work on mastering them and then work on doing them faster and faster and faster. So the first crawl, the first essential crawl for level 3 is going to be just a single beat crawl going out and in. So we're going to go toe, heel, toe, heel, heel, toe, heel, toe. Then we do the left side. Toe, heel, toe, heel, heel, toe, heel, toe. So that's just a plain crawl. We're not adding any extras to it yet. We're going to do 2 just like that. So you're going to go toe, heel, heel, toe, heel, toe, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe. Then we're going to slow it down for 1 set, and we're going to add an alternating heel drop. So you'll go toe, heel, 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 toe, heel, 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 toe, heel, 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 toe, toe, heel, 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 toe, heel, 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 toe, heel, heel, toe. Then we're going to take it up to tempo. So you'll go toe, heel, 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 toe, heel, 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 toe, heel, 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 toe, toe, heel, 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 toe, heel, 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 toe, heel, heel. Again, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 7 and 8. Good. All right. Then we're going to slow it down again, and this time we're going to add an alternating toe drop. So you're going to go toe, toe, heel, toe, 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 heel, toe, heel, toe, 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 heel, toe, 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 heel, toe, 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 heel, toe, heel, toe, 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 heel, toe, toe. And then we do 2 sets up to tempo. Toe, heel, toe, heel, heel, toe, heel and toe, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe. Again, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. 1 and 2 and 3, 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. Okay, so that is the first essential one. Let's kind of put it all together now. So starting with the plain ones, you have toe, heel, toe, heel, heel, toe, heel, toe. Again. Once more, toe, heel, heel, toe. On the left. Slow it down, add the heel. Toe, heel, 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 toe, heel, 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 toe, heel, 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 toe, toe, heel, 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 toe, heel, 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 toe, heel. Take it up to tempo. 1 and 2 and 3, 5 and 6 and 7, 8. 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6. Again. Then we go toe, toe, heel, toe, 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 heel, toe, heel, toe, 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 heel, toe, 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 heel, toe, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, toe. Then we go toe, heel, heel, toe, heel, and toe, toe. One again. All right, so that is essential crawl number 1. Essential crawl number 2, we are going to do a double beat crawl, and we are only going to go out. We're not going to bring it back in. So you're going to start with toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, heel, then left. Again. Good. Then we're going to slow it down and add the alternating heel drop. Toe, heel, 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 toe, heel, 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 toe, heel, 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 toe, heel. Then we're going to take it up to tempo. So you're going toe, heel, 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 toe, heel, 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 toe, heel, 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 toe, heel. Again. Toe, heel, 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 toe, heel, 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 toe, heel, 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 toe, heel, 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 heel. We're going to slow it down again and add the toe drop this time. So you're going to go toe, toe, heel, toe, 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 heel, toe, heel, toe, toe, heel, toe, 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 heel. Then we take it to tempo. We go toe, toe, heel, toe, 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 heel, toe, heel, toe, toe, heel, toe, 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 heel, toe, heel, toe, toe, heel, toe, 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 heel, toe, heel, toe, toe, heel, toe, toe, toe. Okay, so let's walk through this double beat crawl, putting it all together now. So starting with the plain ones, you're going toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, heel. Again, toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, heel. Then we're gonna go toe, heel, 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 toe, heel, 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 toe, heel, 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 toe, heel. Now we'll take it to tempo. We go toe, heel, 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 toe, heel, 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 toe, heel, 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 toe, heel. Again, toe, heel, 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 toe, heel, toe, heel, 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 toe, heel. Now we slow it down again and go toe, toe, heel, toe, 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 heel, toe, heel, and toe, toe, heel, toe, 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 heel, take it up. We go toe, toe, heel, toe, 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 heel, toe, toe, toe. Again, toe, toe, heel, toe, 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 heel, toe, toe, toe. All right, so that is your second essential crawl. Next up is going to be a two-footed crawl, and we're just going to do it sort of plain. Before we go on, though, I want to point something out about crawls. For these first two that we did, we started with the toes hitting the floor. There's no rules. You don't have to do these in the same order. You can make up your own crawls with the same concept of the foot traveling across the floor. Sometimes you can start with the heel dig instead of the toes. And so there's a lot of different variations out there. When we get to these two-footed crawls, I always like to push rather than pull. So what do I mean by that? I like to, if we're going to the right, I like to start with the left foot and feel like that left foot is kind of pushing me across the floor. But you could also do that. So pushing is when the foot that's away from the direction you're traveling is going to go first. It kind of, I think of it as pushing you over to that side. Pulling is when the foot that's on that side is leading. So we're going to do just a plain 2-beat crawl. And you're going to start with the heels first. And you're just going to go heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, toe. Then we're going to go back the other way. Heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, toe. Okay, so let's do that again. You're going to go heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, heel, going back, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, toe. Good. We're going to do that same exact thing now, except we're going to start with the toes first. So you'll go toe, toe, heel, heel, 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 toe, toe, heel, heel. All right, let's do that one more time, starting with that left toe. You're going toe, toe, heel, heel, 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 toe, toe, heel, heel. Okay, so that is what I call a 2-footed crawl, and it's just plain. And that is your 4th essential crawl. We're going to add, number 5 is sort of a variation on this, where we're going to add some things to it. Again, there's no set rules. You can add all kinds of different things to these crawls, and they're fine. They're just that you made them up. Someone else may have made up something similar. So for this one, we are going to start with just a plain crawl again. We're going to go heel, heel, toe, toe. Then we're going to double up those heels. Heel, 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 toe, toe. Then we do a plain one again. Heel, heel, toe, toe. Then we're going to just do heel, 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 heel. Heel, 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 heel. Then we're going to go back the other way. Same thing. Heel, heel, toe, toe. Heel, 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 toe, toe. Heel, heel, toe, toe. Heel, 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 heel. Okay, so let's do that a couple of times. Starting with that left foot, traveling to the right, you go heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, 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 toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, 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 toe, toe, heel, 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 toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, 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 heel. All right. We're going to do the same thing now, except it's going to be the toes instead of the heels. So you'll go toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, 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 heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, 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 other way, toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, 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 heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, 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 toe. All right, let's do that again. I find starting with the toes for some reason it's easier to do heel drops than toe drops. So again, we're going to go toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, 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 heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, 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 heel, heel, toe, 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 heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, 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 toe. All right, so that is the 4th essential crawl for level 3. Next up, we are going to do a crawl that my students always struggle with it when I first introduce it. It is tricky. It's a 2-footed crawl, but you're doing a single beat, and then a double beat, if that makes sense. And you're going to alternate. One side's going to start with the toes, the other side's going to start with the heels. So you're going to go toe, heel, then heel, toe. Okay, just that much again. You have toe, heel, heel, toe. From here, you're going to do toe, heel, and then another toe, heel. All right, so let's add that on. So you're going toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, toe, heel. Then the right foot's going to start with the heels this time. You're doing your two plain ones. Heel, toe, toe, heel. Then you're going to go heel, toe, heel. That finishes it going this way. Then we go back the other way, starting with the toes on the left foot. Toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, heel. Okay, this is one of those things you've just got to practice it and get it into muscle memory. If we were to do the feet separately, you're going toe, heel, toe, toe, heel, toe, heel, heel. The left foot would be going heel, toe, heel, heel, toe, heel, toe, toe. Okay? Single, single, double. Single, single, double. Single, single, double. Left foot is going single, single, double. Single, single. Actually, I think it's just, you end up dropping one when you're switching sides. So putting that together, you're going toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, heel. So you drop that last toe, and that sets you up to start the other side. Toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, heel. So when I was first learning this, and it's hard, this is not an easy little thing to learn. It takes some work, it takes some practice. But the thing that really made it kind of start to work for me is focusing on where my foot was on those double heel drops in the middle, where you're going to do one sort of where you are and then pivot the next one. So watch and see if you can see what I'm talking about. We're going toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, heel. So if you see that, typically we are pivoting the foot on every one. If you're doing a regular 2-beat crawl, if we were doing it without the doubles. But when you get to that middle heel, the first one, you kind of keep it where it is. And then it's like, oh, wait, I got to move. So then you do the other one. One more time on this one. This is a tricky one, but once you get it, it is so much fun. So starting with the right foot, we're doing toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, toe, heel, heel, toe, toe, heel, heel, toe, heel. All right, so that is your 5th essential crawl. The final crawl in my essential crawls list is one that I have struggled with myself for years. And it's because it is a strength thing as much as anything else. And that's where you're going to stand on one foot and that foot's going to crawl all by itself with the other foot in the air. So this leg, right now my right leg, it's taking all of my weight. And as you crawl, the toes are either taking all your weight or your heels are taking all your weight. Getting those toes off the floor is difficult, but the more you practice, the better it'll get, I hope. I am especially bad on my left side. That's the leg I broke several years ago. I've never really gotten strength back the way it should. And you'll see, it's a mess, but I still try it. So you're going to go heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe. Let's go back the other way on the right foot. Heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe. You really want to work on getting those toes off the floor. You also want to start to work on doing it faster. I'm doing it slow so you can see what I'm doing, but yeah, it should be much faster. And those toes, you want to make sure you're hearing a sound with them. All right, left foot, starting with the heel first, traveling to the right. We go heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, going back the other way. Heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe. I'm having a hard time getting those toes up. All right, that was your 6 essential crawl. I'm going to leave that one alone because, like I said, it is not one of my finest. It's really hard for me. You're going to find things in tap dance. Some things are going to come easier than others. And what's easy for one person may be really difficult for somebody else. And what's difficult for one person is going to be easy for somebody else. So don't compare yourself to others. Just work on your own thing and figure out what you need to focus on. All right, so those are the 6 essential crawls for my level 3 people. We'll be back next week with more essential steps, probably for Never Too Late next week.